Hello everyone, I welcome you all to the 14th online lecture of the course Experimental Methods in Thermal Engineering. In our previous lecture, we started our discussion on the definition of contact angle, and then particularly I have tried to give you the formulation of contact angle when we are having perfectly smooth surface, and the contact angle corresponding to that surface we have characterized, or we have called it as nothing but ideal contact angle. Okay. After that, I have also given you the another concept of one more type of contact angle, particularly for the rough surfaces. So we have seen that in case of rough surfaces, we will be having one actual contact angle and one apparent contact angle. Okay, and out of these two, apparent contact angle is easy to measure, whereas theoretically, if we try to see the correct formulation required for theoretical analysis and as a boundary condition for numerical simulations is nothing but our actual contact angle. Okay, so that's what we studied, and I have also given you one more idea that when we are having a rough surface, we may have large number of local minima states. So depending upon that, we may have a range of apparent contact angle values, and particularly for surface, what we try to do by considering the mode of advancing motion and receding motion of the contact line, we try to specify the value of maximum advancing and contact angle and minimum receding contact angle, and with the help of these we get some range of contact angle values. So that particular range we call as nothing but contact angle hysteresis. Okay, so in this particular lecture also we will continue first our discussion on the static contact angle for remaining other type of surfaces, particularly the rough surfaces and the chemically heterogeneous surface. And once the discussion of static contact angle measurement is done, then we will try to further go into the details of dynamic contact angle. Okay, so here we are having the motion of contact line, and then during the motion of contact line, we will try to relate the value of contact. Okay, so what we have done in our previous lecture, as I have actually told you already, that we have seen the multiple stages of minimum energy, and then we have also seen the hysteresis value of contact angle. Okay, now what we will try to do in this particular section, we will now try to find out the most stable stage for apparent contact angle, particularly on the rough surfaces. Okay, so basically what we are having, nothing but we are having theta y as contact angle, which is measured from the Young's equation, and this particular contact angle is nothing but represents the actual measure of the contact angle. Actual measure means when we are having the contact between the liquid and our actual solid surface. Okay, so for example, if I define over here some drop profile, so I'll be, instead of considering a nominal surface, I'll be actually talking about over here the actual profile of the solid surface. Okay, and now if we have to relate our this Young's contact angle to the most stable apparent contact angle, which is particularly over here related with the help of one equation which is given by Wengel in 1936. Okay, so as per the Wengel's equation, cos of theta w, where theta w refers to the Wengel contact angle, is nothing but equal to r times cos of theta y. Here theta y refers to the contact angle obtained from the Young's equation. Okay, so as per this equation, what we are having some factor r over here, which is actually relating the two different contact angles. Okay, so this ratio of r is particularly known as the roughness ratio, and this is nothing but it is defined as the ratio between the actual and the nominal surface area of the solid. So when we will be having a rough surface, we have seen, then we define some nominal solid line over here for our experimental measurement. So obviously, while we will be finding the area which is covered by the liquid, so with reference to nominal, we will be finding one this straight circular section resting on a straight interface profile, and in case of actual, we will be considering this irregularities also. Okay, so obviously what will be happening, our actual area will be more in comparison to the nominal surface area. So that's why the value of this R will be equal to 1 for perfectly smooth surface, and if we are having rough surfaces, then its value will be greater than 1. Okay, so over here you can see that if we are having some value of contact angle theta y when it is less than 90 degree, when it is in the range of less than 90 degree. So what will be happening always, because the value of r will be greater than 1, so when this r will be multiplying to it, it will actually try to reduce the value of theta w. So it means when we are having the values of theta y less than 90 degree, okay, in that case what will be happening, if we are having a rough surface for a given value of theta y, it will give higher value of theta w. So it means what it will be doing, it will actually, sorry, I have told you wrongly, so it will give lower value of theta w. Okay, when theta y is less than 90 degree, when it will be multiplied with r, actually our magnitude of this entire quantity will be actually increasing. So because of that, cos inverse of that will be actually giving us the smaller value of theta w. So it means that when we are using this Wengel equation, so in that case what will be happening, for a given rough surface, if we are including the effect of roughness, then roughness will be actually increasing the wettability of that surface. So what roughness is doing, for example, if on a smooth surface we were getting certain value of contact angle as theta y, when we will be considering the rough surface, in that rough surface what will be happening, we will be having actually more flatter drop. So more flatter drop means our contact angle will decrease and wetting area of this droplet will be actually increasing. So that's why what we can conclude from here, that when the value of Young's contact angle is less than 90 degree and we are considering a rough surface, in that case the roughness enhances the wettability characteristics of the surface. While if we consider the another situation, that when value of angle is actually greater than 90 degree, in that case what will be happening, value of theta w will be actually increasing above the value of theta y. Okay, so in that case what will be happening, our roughness will be actually decreasing the wettability characteristics. Okay, so that's what is represented with the help of this curve. So over here along ordinate we are having theta w, and along abscissa we are having theta y. So you can see when our roughness ratio is equal to 1, then we are having this dashed line over here. Okay, and when we are having the value of roughness ratio is increasing 1.1, 1.2 or 1.1, 1.4 or 2, in that case what is happening, for theta less than 90, you can see that for a given value of theta y, we will be finding our value of Wengel contact angle is actually decreasing. However, above 90 degree, Wengel contact angle is coming more in comparison to the given value of theta y. Okay, so from here we can conclude that roughness enhances the wettability characteristics of the surface when our angles are less than 90 degree. If angle is greater than 90 degree, then it is actually reduces the wettability characteristics. Okay, now from this Wengel concept only, we have come up. I have actually told you the Wengel equation, but what is the basic assumption on which this Wengel equation is actually derived? Okay, so Wengel equation is particularly based on the assumption that liquid is completely penetrating into the roughness group. So basically what is happening, our contact area in between the liquid and vapor is increasing, and R is measure of that increase of contact area in comparison to a perfectly smooth surface. Okay, so as per this assumption, we will be having this particular situation which is highlighted over here. So over here you can see that we are having some grooves in our solid surface, and in between these grooves our liquid has actually penetrated inside. Okay, so this type of wetting condition is particularly referred to as homogeneous wetting condition. Okay, however, in actual practice what will be happening, because our scale of the length scale of the droplet will be of the order of around millimetric scale, and the length scale of this roughness will be in micrometers. So because of that, what will be happening? Our entire liquid will not be able to penetrate into this uh, roughness, these contours. So what will be happening over here? We will be having some amount of air which will be actually remain in between these roughness groups, and our groups and our droplet will be resting over that air surface. Okay, so particularly this type of wetting situation is referred to as heterogeneous wetting. Now we have just in our previous slide we have actually discussed about the Wengel equation. So the applicability of the Wengel equation is only for the larger drops, and particularly this equation is applicable when our drop is 2 to 3 orders of magnitude larger in comparison to the magnitude of the roughness. Okay. So generally this is true also, as I have told you that order of roughness is in micrometers, and order of the droplet size for particularly for engineering applications is of the order of mm. So you can see over here that 10 to power 2 to 10 to power 3, some 2 to 3 magnitude orders of magnitude will be existing. So normally this Wengel equation, whatever we have seen, it is actually applicable for majority of the practical situations. Okay. Then now let us try to see one more type of surface condition. Now we are not even including perfectly smooth surface, neither we are including the uh, rough surface, but we are considering that our surface means our surface is smooth only, but it is chemically heterogeneous surface. Okay, so what is the meaning of chemical heterogeneity? By chemical heterogeneity means that if I take some surface, at some particular end of this surface we will be having different contact angle characteristics, and as we will be moving to some another location, then we may have different static contact angle characteristics, and at another location we may have some different angle characteristics. So you can see over here, particularly in this region, our surface appears to be hydrophilic and partial wetting condition is seen. Over here, contact angle appears to be 90 degree. If I consider this as nothing but our droplet profile, and over here, if I consider the droplet profile something like this, then in that case, we can see that our contact angle is very large, and this surface appears to be nothing but a hydrophobic surface. So over here, you can see that nothing but we are having a single surface, and along the length of this surface, we are having actually different chemical characteristics of the surface, which are actually changing the contact angle dynamics when we are having a fixed liquid and fluid combination. Okay, so this type of surfaces are particularly referred to as the chemical heterogeneous surface. So particularly what happens in these type of surfaces, the surface tension of the solid varies from one spot to another spot over the surface. Okay. Now, characteristics of this type of chemically heterogeneous surfaces, these are very complex in comparison to the characteristics of the rough surface. So, particularly for chemical heterogeneous surfaces, one equation has been given by Casey in 1948, which relates the uh, equivalent contact angle of a droplet with reference to the with reference to the contact angle which are obtained by Young's equation at different parts of the solid surface. Okay, so now let us consider a situation that we are having a solid surface, and this solid surface is having only two different surface chemistries. Means in this particular zone, say its surface tension is sigma S1, and beyond this particular zone, its surface tension is sigma S2. Okay, now if we consider that we are having a droplet which is entirely resting over only the sigma S1 part, in that case, what will be finding from the Young's equation, we will be finding the value of contact angle as theta y1. Okay, and now if we consider another situation that entire droplet is resting on the another part, in that case, we will be finding the value of contact angle as theta y2. Okay, now what we are doing, we are considering the more practical situation that we are having a droplet which is resting on the different wettability portions. So you can see over here, if you try to see in terms of contact area of contact, we are having the more area of contact in sigma S2 portion in comparison to the area of contact in sigma S1 region. Okay, so what we do over here, we try to find out the fraction of area. Say X1 refers to the nothing but contact area which is in contact with the surface chemistry of A1 and then divided by total area of the droplet. Okay, and X2 if we consider as nothing but A2 divided by A, where A represents the total contact area of the droplet. So if only we are having the two surface characteristics, in that case we will be finding that our X2 will be nothing but equal to 1 minus X1. Okay, so that is something which is done over here. So in case of Cassie's equation, what is done, cos of theta c means Cassie contact angle is considered as nothing but area fraction of first type of surface chemistry into cos theta y1 plus area fraction of second type, which is nothing but 1 minus x1 times cos of theta y2 over here. Okay, so this is how this Cassie's equation is nothing but it represents the weighted average contact angle, and that weighted average is nothing but taken based on the area fraction of the droplet. Okay, so how much fraction of the area is contacting first surface and how much fraction of area is contacting actually second fraction. So that is taken as some sort of weight function, and considering that area fraction as weight function, a weighted average is actually taken over here. Okay, so this type of approximation also becomes valid when drop sizes are very small with reference to the scale of the chemical heterogeneity. So obviously we will be having some length scale of this chemical heterogeneity. So our droplet size should be large in comparison to the length scale of this chemical heterogeneity. So in terms of order, if I say, so it is also should be larger in the order of 2 to 3 magnitudes. Okay, so our means droplet size should be larger in comparison to that of the chemical heterogeneity of the surface. Okay. Now what we are trying to do over here, we are trying to go towards a more closer real surface situation. So in reality, we may have chemically heterogeneous surfaces as well as we may also have roughness also. Okay, so if we include both these things, then the Cassie's equation is actually further derived, and it is derived by Cassie and Baxter, and particularly we are having this contact angle which is called as Cassie-Baxter contact angle. Okay, so in this type of situation, what is assumed over here, once again we have considered that we are nothing but having the two different surface chemistries, but we are considering that in one case, so what we are doing, we are having some rough surface also. Okay, and we are having the two different surface chemistries. How two different surface chemistries? We are considering that a droplet is resting on a rough surface, and we are considering that in one portion drop liquid is actually entirely filled inside our groove. Okay, so here our drop liquid is entirely filled in the grooves. There we will be having some sort of different type of contact angle situation, and then another side what we are considering that whatever the grooves we are having, inside these grooves we are having actually thin layer of air. So here we are having some air also which is actually taking some portion of the some area fraction. Okay, so now we can consider that say F is the fraction of area where we are having perfect contact in between the liquid and the solid surface. So in that case, if we are only considering the two surface chemistries, then this area fraction where we are having air in our roughness grooves, that particular area fraction will be nothing but equal to 1 minus F. Okay. Now what we are considering that when we are having air over here, in case of air, what will be happening if we are having say air filled inside our grooves? In that case, what will be happening when if we place a very small droplet over this type of surface, that small droplet when will be placed on the thin layer of air, that droplet will be nothing but of the spherical shape. So if that droplet is of the spherical shape, in that case we will be finding that our contact angle theta y2 is nothing but equal to 180 degrees. So that is also another condition, because when we are having the entire thin layer, in that case that air will be always staying in between the solid surface and our liquid profile. So in that case, what will be happening? We will be having nothing but, if we are taking very small droplets, these droplets will be having actually contact angle of 180 degree, because droplets are having spherical shape. Okay, so that we are considering over here theta y2 as 180 degree. Okay, and for first situation we are considering angle as nothing but our theta y. Now if we substitute all these things in our previous equation, and we also include nothing but our effect of surface roughness also, because over here we are considering that we are having homogeneous situation where surface is also actually roughness groups are also filled with the liquid. Okay, so in that case what will be happening? We know that from Casey's equation cos of theta c is nothing but equal to area fraction. So instead of x, now I am considering f times cos of my first angle is theta y plus 1 minus f times second angle is cos of 180 degree. So cos of 180 degree will be giving me the value of -1. Okay, and one more thing will be happening over here. So in this particular part, we are considering that we are having rough surface and we are having over here the perfect contact. So for considering the effect of roughness, now we have to include the Wengel equation. So from the Wengel equation, we will be nothing but getting our roughness ratio over here. So this roughness ratio actually, particularly we want to measure only for the section, only for the fraction f, because here only our Wengel condition is actually applicable, or homogeneous wetting condition is applicable. So that's why with this roughness ratio, I will be using one additional subscript of Rf. So this combined, if we combine this Wengel equation and Casey equation, we find another equation, that is, that particular equation is actually referred to as Casey-Webster equation. So you can see over here, Casey-Webster contact angle is nothing but f times Rf into cos of theta y, and this cos 180 is giving minus sign, so minus of 1 minus f. Okay, so what we are doing over here, we when we are having actually heterogeneous wetting conditions. So heterogeneous wetting, as I have already told you, that when we are having the air in between our roughness group, so we are not having the perfect contact in between the liquid and the solid surface. So majority of the time it has been observed that heterogeneous wetting surface, heterogeneous wetting on the rough surface actually may lead to situation of super hydrophobicity. So super hydrophobicity is a situation which represents a very high contact angle. It means when contact angle is actually more than 180 or 160 degrees. So we can see over here our droplet profile will be something like this. So here you can see from the liquid side, if you measure the contact angle, it is actually very large as 160 degrees. So if it is 160 or greater than 160 degree, in that case we call the surface as nothing but super hydrophobic surface. Okay, so this angle is contact angle, and if we are allowing a droplet to impact over these type of surfaces, so what will be happening, that droplet will be actually slipping off from the surface. Okay, so the condition tells that high contact angle and very low roll off or slip off angle. So when the droplet will be slipping off this surface, it will be slipping at certain angle. So the angle that made by a droplet with the surface during its slip off motion, that particular angle is actually known as slip angle. Okay, so you can see over here that slip angle is the angle at which drop slips from or rolls off a solid surface. So we should have, when we are having the super hydrophobic surface, in that case we will be having very low slip off angles. Okay, then another thing we have to include or consider over here, that solid liquid contact area is always smaller in case of heterogeneous wetting than in comparison to homogeneous wetting, even if we are having the value of apparent contact angle as same in both the cases. So this is one very important point which you have to remember, that even if we consider the two situations, one is of homogeneous wetting and one is of heterogeneous wetting, and we are finding that our apparent contact angles are coming out to be same in both the cases, then also it will be physically the situation will be that we will be having very less solid liquid contact area, particularly in case of the homogeneous wetting condition. Okay, so this particular type of situation is actually the most general situation, and whatever the earlier situations we have studied, these can be derived from this generalized Cauchy-Webster equation. Okay. Then now let us come to the measurement of contact angle, because our ultimate aim is to experimentally study that how we can measure the value of contact angle. Okay, so generally what is done, we try to take the approach of taking the side view picture of this drop, and we try to evaluate its contact angle. Okay, so while we are taking the side view picture, after that when we are evaluating its contact angle, while we are evaluating, we can do evaluation either by direct measurement of the angle, so we can apply some image analysis etc. to find out our angle, or we can fit a curve to the drop profile and then we can calculate the angle from this curve. Okay, so that is one procedure. But particularly when only we are taking the side view, then we are having one issue that we are not sure about the symmetry of the drop. And if drop is not axisymmetric and we are measuring the contact angle, so in that case we will be always finding a difference in between the contact angle on both edges of the droplet, and it may lead to actually large experimental errors. Okay, so we have to always ensure that while we are taking the measurement of the angle and whatever the photograph we have taken, that photograph could be corresponding to the axisymmetric state of the droplet. Okay, so many times what is done, it becomes essential to take the top view of the drop, because when we will be taking a photograph from the top view, we will be finding nothing but our, if a drop is axisymmetric, we will be finding the circular contact area, circular projected area or circular contact area of the droplet profile. Okay, so that can be ensured from the top view. From the top view, if you are taking photograph, if it is coming perfectly circular, in that case we can say that our drop is axisymmetric. If it is not circular, in that case obviously we cannot do the measurements. Before that we have to actually generate new droplet and try to ensure the axisymmetry. Okay, then apart from that, so it is not only the task that we are just finding out the value of the contact angle, because I have already told you that when we will be going for measurement of contact angle on the real practical surfaces, what will be happening, there will be, for different experiments, we may find large range of spectrum of contact angle values. Okay, so from that spectrum actually we have to select that what should be our correct value of the contact angle. So for finding out the correct value of the contact angle, we are having two approaches. One is hysteresis approach, and second approach is called as most stable apparent contact. Subsequent slides, but before that, one example of curve fitting of the droplet profile I want to show you over here. Okay, so here you can see these red colored points are nothing but these represents our drop profile, and to this particular drop profile what we have done, we have fitted a curve which is shown over here. So you can see over here, so this is a curve which is fitted over the drop profile. Okay, now you can see these edge red points are coming over here. How to do? We have to create one solid line over here in the edges of the droplet in order to ensure that we are getting over here as our solid surface. Okay, once this type of profile is obtained from the curve fitting, then we can take the tangents. With the help of this curve equation, we can actually find out the equation of the tangents at contact point, particularly on the left side as well as on the right side, and with the help of these tangents then we can measure the value of the contact angle. Okay, so generally what we do, we take the experimental snapshots, and then these experimental snapshots are actually further processed with the help of image analysis and edge detection techniques in order to find out the periphery of the droplet, and then the periphery of the droplet with the help of polynomial fit is actually fitted to a curve, and from that curve we try to find out the equations of the tangents, particularly at the contact point, and then we try to find out the angles from that equation of the tangent. Okay, then now as I told you that this is the experimental procedure, but after say we have repeated for a single type of surface and same type of experimental conditions, if we repeated the contact angle for different type of now for different experiments, we will be finding the different values of contact angles. So one of the common approach is that instead of finding out the static or equilibrium contact angle, we should go for the measurement of the advancing and receding contact angle. So while we will be doing the measurement of advancing and receding contact angles, then always we will be having some needle which will be attached to the drop surface, because with the help of needle we will increase the volume or decrease the volume over here, which will be actually giving us the value of advancing and the receding contact angle. Okay, once we are finding the advancing and receding contact angle, then macroscopic contact angle can be specified by using following techniques. So there are three different methods which are proposed by different researchers. So Decker and co-workers in 1996 suggested the arithmetic average of the advancing and the receding contact angles for finding out stable, or I can say that equilibrium macroscopic contact angle. Okay, whereas one another researcher has suggested that we can take, when we are taking the arithmetic average, we should take the arithmetic average of cos of theta instead of theta. Okay, so this second equation is also proposed. Then particularly for the rough surfaces, one more procedure is proposed. So as per this procedure, what we will be doing, we will be measuring the advancing and receding contact angles for series of surfaces of the same chemistry but varying degree of roughness. So what we are doing over here, we are considering the surfaces which are having same chemistry, means our chemical conditions or surface tension of the solid is actually same. But what we are doing, we are actually trying to vary the roughness of the surface. And for different roughness, same chemistry substrates, we are repeating series of experiments and we are finding the corresponding values of advancing and receding contact angles. Okay. Now what will be happening for each surface, once we are having advancing and receding contact angle, we will be finding actually value of some hysteresis. Okay, hysteresis range. So then what we will be doing, we will be drawing a two-dimensional plot where we will be plotting advancing and receding contact angles as function of the hysteresis range, theta A minus theta R. So we will be having one plot where we will be having theta A minus theta R along abscissa, and we will be having theta advancing and theta receding over here. So large number of data points. For example, these triangles are nothing but representing my advancing contact angles, and say these circular points are nothing but representing the receding contact angles. Okay, so value of receding contact angles will be less in comparison to the advancing contact angles. Then what we will be doing, we will be fitting the best straight line fit to this set of data. So one straight line we will be fitting over here, and one straight line we will be fitting over here to our receding contact angles data. And we know that our equilibrium contact angle is nothing but represents some, or I can say that Young's contact angle, it represents the state of a single energy minima. So if we are having a single energy minima, we will be having only a unique value of the contact angle. And if we are having unique value of contact angle, for that particular condition, we will be having nothing but our hysteresis range will be equal to 0. So now after that, what we will be doing, we will be extrapolating these lines until our 0 hysteresis value. And from that extrapolation, actually, we will try to find out the value of Young's contact angle corresponding to the condition of 0 hysteresis range. Okay, so that is the another procedure. Now one more technique is there for finding out the values of contact angle, and this particular type of technique is referred to as most stable apparent contact angle approach. Okay, so in this, what we do, we don't go for the large number of experiments. Rather, in a single experiment, we actually directly measure the most stable contact angle. Okay, so it's actually inherent property that when we will be vibrating the surface over which our droplet is resting, drop will be having the tendency to overcome the energy barriers, and it will be actually reaching to the most stable energy state. Okay, so it's a common tendency that if you give very controlled vibrations to a surface over which your droplet is actually resting. So droplet will be, because now the vibrations will be adding certain energy into the droplet, and that energy will be providing sufficient energy content within the droplet to overcome the energy barriers, whatever I have described during the previous lecture. Okay, so once the droplet is able to overcome these energy barriers, it will be actually reaching to the stage of minimum energy or most stable state of the energy. And particularly, it is also observed that if we are giving the vibrations, then whatever the final state or most stable state of the droplet will be getting, that will be nothing but perfectly, or I can say that it will be the most axisymmetric out of the other metastable states. Okay. So what we can do now, once we have given the very controlled vibrations, after that we will be normally finding that for after a duration of time, our drop will be reaching to the final equilibrium state. Then we can take the snapshot corresponding to the equilibrium state, and we can. Now this particular picture is corresponding to the most stable state. Okay. But there are few guidelines while we are measuring the contact angle. So two important guidelines I have highlighted over here, that drop should be sufficiently large, at least 2 orders of magnitude larger than the scale of roughness and chemical heterogeneity of the surface. And another condition is that drop should be axisymmetric at the time of measurement. Okay, so that is the another condition we are having, that our drop profile should be actually axisymmetric while we are taking the measurement of the contact angle. Okay. Now, so this is all about the static contact angle, means when a droplet is actually resting on a surface. Okay. But apart from this, we may encounter many applications in our engineering uh, phenomenon, where our interaction in between the droplet and the surface is actually not static. Rather, droplet, while it is interacting with the surface, it is undergoing some motion. Okay, so we can, if I give you one very small example, so you can see over here, we are having some solid surface, and over this solid surface, we are having one droplet which is hanging from a needle, and this droplet I have just brought in contact with this solid surface. Okay, so what you can see, initially when this droplet is just in contact with the surface, at that point we will be having a point contact, and our contact angle will be nothing but equal to 180 degrees. Okay, however, once it is coming in the contact with the surface, this droplet will try to spread over this surface, and it will try to gain some value of the contact angle, which is nothing but meeting the requirement of equilibrium contact angle in between this liquid and this solid surface. Okay. So for example, if I consider that my condition of this surface is such that it is of hydrophilic nature. Hydrophilic nature, it means if I consider this drop as water, and if I consider that my surface is of hydrophilic nature, so in that case, my final contact angle should be less than 90 degrees. Now, if I consider that my final contact angle of this surface is nothing but equal to 10 degrees. So surface characteristics are such that, so that its equilibrium or static contact angle when a water droplet is resting over it is nothing but equal to 10 degrees. So we can see that the final shape of the droplet will be something like this. Okay. So it will try to make some angle over here, and this angle will be nothing but equal to 10 degrees. Okay. So you can see that when this type of physical situation we are having over here, if I plot the value of contact angle of the droplet as function of time, initially it will be 180 degree, and final value will be nothing but equal to 10 degrees. Okay, so it means it will be changing from 180 degrees to the value of 10 degrees. Okay, so over here say my value is nothing but 10 degree, and over here value is 180 degree. So nothing but our contact angle is changing from the initial value of 180 degree to the final stage it is acquiring nothing but 10 degrees. And while this contact angle is actually changing from 180 to 10 degree, its contact line is also advancing in the radial outward direction. Okay. So while the contact line is advancing, so it will be having some contact line velocity. Okay. So it will be having some contact line velocity, and initially we will be having some different value of the contact line velocity, and as it will keep on advancing, finally it will be reaching to the equilibrium state. So for corresponding to the equilibrium state, contact line velocity will become equal to 0. Okay. Now we may have large number of engineering phenomenon where this type of phenomena is happening. So particularly you can take the example of inkjet printing. In case of inkjet printing, a droplet is injected over a paper. Then in case of spray painting, what we do, we spray the droplets of the paint over the surface, and these multiple drops actually attach to the surface, and these spreads over the surface in order to form a thin film of paint over it. Okay. Then another example we may take in case of our spray cooling. So in case of spray cooling also, what we do, we spray the liquid droplets over the surface, and then because of the heat transfer, these droplets will be actually evaporating and carrying certain amount of heat. Okay. Another example we can take of our nucleate boiling. So in case of nucleate boiling, what happens, there will be nucleation of a bubble, and because of the nucleation of the bubble, depending upon the surface characteristics in between the liquid vapor combination and the surface, there will be movement in the motion of the contact line. Okay. So there are large number of practical situations where there is a requirement of finding out the motion of the contact line and finding out the details of the contact angle during its motion. So while droplet is in motion, during that time, whatever the value of contact angle we are measuring, and that value is nothing but dynamically changing with time, that particular contact angle is referred to as dynamic contact angle. Okay. And it is of relevance to many practical applications, some of which I have just listed also. So why it is of relevance to practical applications? Because in practical applications, we require a precise knowledge of how the rate of wetting affects the process. So as I told you, in case of painting, we should know that how much time a drop will take to spread over the surface. So depending upon that, we will be selecting the frequency and location of the droplet which we will be placing over the surface. At the same point of time, while we are studying about the heat transfer, so as I have told you that if we are having a case of spray cooling, so in case of spray cooling, droplets will be sprayed over the heated surface. So if these droplets are not spreading over the surface, then obviously we will be having the formation of number of hot spots. However, if we consider that these droplets are spreading and covering the entire surface, in that case there will be the heat release rate will be faster, and we will be having high heat transfer coefficients, and heat transfer process will be effective. So that's why we require the knowledge of precise rate at which our wetting phenomenon is actually happening. So it means the precise knowledge of contact line velocity and value of contact angle is actually required. And what are the different configurations which where our evolution of dynamic contact angle may occur? So one of the first configuration is drop spreading on a flat substrate. So I have already explained you over here. So this is relevant to inkjet printing, spraying of liquids such as paints, insecticides, etc. Okay, drops moving on inclined plane. So we may have some inclined surface over which a drop is actually rolling down out of that inclined plane. Then we may have a situation of liquid penetration into the capillary tubes. Okay, so this type of example is particularly of relevance to the oil exploration, because when we take out the crude oil from our porous rocky surfaces, from there also these pores of the surface acts as nothing but small capillaries through which our actually oil will be coming out. Okay, and in order to push the oil, we pass another fluid, and we are having nothing but a three-phase contact line over here. So in between these small capillaries, actually our contact line will be traversing. Okay, then we are having the situation when our solid substrates such as plates, cylinders, flexible tapes, fibers, etc. are either drawn into or taken out of the liquids. Okay, so these are of relevance particularly to the coating applications. And we may also have more complex configurations, particularly in our industrial coating processes. Okay, so these are the many situations which are listed over here where the occurrence of dynamic contact angle takes place. Now, so we may have different types of situations of wetting. In one case, we may have forced wetting and de-wetting, and another case is referred to the spontaneous wetting or de-wetting. So whatever the phenomenon I had stated you over here, where actually we were only bringing the droplet in contact with the surface, and then depending upon the surface characteristics, it was actually spontaneously spreading over the surface. So that type of phenomenon is referred to as spontaneous wetting. Okay, and if we consider that we are having some liquid, and inside this liquid actually we are externally forcing some solid surface to enter inside that liquid, or some solid surface to come out of that liquid. So that type of particular condition is referred to as the forced wetting or de-wetting. Okay. So now we are first talking about forced wetting. So, and the corresponding another situation could be forced de-wetting, when we are actually taking out the solid surface out of the liquid. Okay. So in that case, what happens basically? Contact line is made to move by the application of an external force, and particularly for this type of surfaces, it has been found that a single functional relationship exists in between the dynamic contact angle and the velocity for any given system under the same experimental conditions. So it means that if we are putting a liquid inside a solid surface, and if we are doing at some velocity v1, so we will be finding some value of contact angle as theta d1, and if we are changing velocity to another velocity v2, so we will be having some another contact angle theta d2. So it means in between the velocity and the contact angle we will be having some single functional relationship. Okay, now over here you can clearly see that if we keep the same solid surface, same liquid surface, and surrounding fluid also we keep same, and only if we change the velocity at which we are interacting that solid with the liquid, then also our value of dynamic contact angle will be actually changing. So from here we can conclude that our dynamic contact angle may not be considered as the property of the system, because it is something which is changing or depending upon the motion of the contact line. Okay, so there is a common observation that if we increase the rate, so if we increase the rate of steady contact line displacement, in that case what will be happening? Advancing contact angles increases if our phenomenon is happening in such a way so that the liquid is advancing over the surface, and if liquid is receding from the surface, in that case if we increase the steady displacement, or in other words I can say the rate of steady displacement is nothing but my contact line velocity, then receding contact angles decreases. Okay, so what I am referring to over here, for example, if I have a liquid bath, and in this liquid bath if I am dipping some solid surface, so while this solid will be going inside, what will be happening? Our liquid will be actually attaching over this surface, and that liquid will try to move in the outward direction. So we will be having certain velocity of the contact line over here, and that velocity of the contact line nothing but will be equal to the rate at which this plate is being penetrated into the liquid. So while our advancing of the fluid interface is happening, in that case, if we increase the contact line velocity, say we consider V2 is greater than V1, so obviously our theta D2 will be greater than our theta D1. Okay, and if we take the another case of receding of the liquid interface, in that case, value of contact angle actually decreases. Okay, so this particular phenomenon is established over here with the help of a graph. So you can see we are having some dynamic contact angle plotted along the coordinate, and along abscissa we are having nothing but our contact line velocity. So at this point we are having contact line velocity as 0, and in this left side we are having less than 0 contact line velocity. It means it is nothing but representing the receding. So in case of receding phase of the liquid contact line, what will be happening? If you increase the contact line velocity, your angle, dynamic contact angle will be actually decreasing. On the other hand, while the liquid is actually advancing, if you increase the contact line velocity, in that case what will be happening, our contact angle will be increasing, and corresponding to zero velocity, we will be nothing but having static situation, and for static situation we will be having some hysteresis, means we will be having some difference in between the advancing and the receding contact angle. Okay, then so it means from this particular curve we can see that our contact angle depends on both the speed and direction of the displacement. So it means ultimately it is depending upon nothing but contact line velocity. Okay, so in general we can say that our dynamic contact angle is a strong function of the contact line velocity when we are having actually situations of forced wetting. So then another condition, let us try to see for spontaneous wetting and de-wetting. So in case of spontaneous wetting, what will be happening? Drop of the liquid, we will be touching on a solid surface, and it will tend to spread spontaneously under the capillary forces alone. So means the surface tension will try to reach the stage of minimum energy. So it will try to move the contact line, and because our liquid, if our liquid is viscous, so viscous forces will be actually trying to stop the motion of the droplet. So there will be some this one competition in between the viscous forces and the surface tension forces. So droplet will be spreading under the effect of capillary forces. Okay. Then in this particular type of situation, what happens? In the transient conditions, the instantaneous dynamic contact angle will be decreasing from 180 degree to the contact angle value towards its static value. So whatever I have explained you in our previous slide. Okay. Then, so here also you have to remember that finally what will be happening, contact line velocity will also be decreasing, and once we are reaching to the equilibrium static position, our contact line velocity will become zero. Okay, and reverse of this situation is observed if we forcibly spread a liquid on a surface that wets partially. So if we consider a hydrophobic surface, and over that hydrophobic surface if we place thin film of liquid, so what will be happening, because the nature of the surface is that it cannot take very small contact angle. So what will be happening, the contact angle value will change from small value and it will try to reach to some equilibrium high contact angle value. Okay, so you can see over here, if this was the initial state, so final state of the droplet profile will be something like this. Okay, so that will be the phenomena which will be happening if we are actually considering the reverse situation, that over a hydrophobic surface we are creating a thin film of liquid. Okay, then to describe this phenomenon, what we are having actually two theories. So one of the theory is called as hydrodynamic theory and another theory is called as molecular kinetic theory. Okay, so let us first try to see the discussion of the contact angle, dynamic contact angle, with the help of hydrodynamic theory. So what hydrodynamic theory says, that while the droplet is spreading or it is advancing, so we will be having some, say, initial stage something like this. So this particular zone is nothing but the zone which is very close to the contact line. Then while it will be advancing, once again it will be actually further spreading, and we will be getting this zone over here has displaced somewhere over here. Okay, so what we consider in this particular theory, we consider that there is dissipation in the motion of the droplet, and that dissipation is particularly due to viscous flow within the slowly moving wedge of the liquid near the contact line. So this portion over here we are calling as wedge liquid near the contact line, and so while our contact line will be moving in outward direction, in this particular wedge section the viscosity of the liquid will try to actually resist the motion of the contact line, and we will be having actually dissipation in the rate of spreading. Okay, and as we are having dissipation in the rate of the spreading, so obviously that will be changing the value of our contact line velocity, and if contact line velocity is changing, ultimately our value of the dynamic contact angle will be changing. Okay, and as per this theory, we also consider that whatever the changes we will be observing in the value of dynamic contact angle, that are due to the viscous bending of the fluid interface, and particularly this viscous bending will be visible only in the mesoscopic region. Okay, so because of that, what we do over here, we consider that there exists two different contact angles. One is microscopic contact angle, and we consider that microscopic contact angle is actually retaining the value identical to that of the static contact angle of the surface, and whatever the value of dynamic contact angle we are getting, that is nothing but our apparent contact angle at the macroscopic scale. Okay, so let me just demonstrate this phenomenon with the help of one representation. So what we are doing, we are considering that, say, this is one my initial profile, then say after some time this is my another profile. Okay, so what we are doing over here, we are considering that if we zoom into this micro level, so in the micro level we will be having actually same type of characteristics of the surface at all the locations. So for example, over here, if I have a value of contact angle close to 80 degree, so if I zoom at another location also, there also at the molecular level, I will be having the value of contact angle as nothing but equal to 80 degrees only. Okay, whereas experimentally at macroscopic scale, whatever the contact angle we will be observing, that angle will be somewhere beyond the value of this microscopic angle. So experimentally what we will be observing, that will be something like this. Okay, so that is the actually main hypothesis of this hydrodynamic theory, which considers that microscopically the value of contact angle, or I can say that microscopically the droplet is nothing but in static equilibrium with the surface, whereas whatever the motion of the contact line is happening, that is because of the viscous dissipation over here, which is particularly in this wedge portion above the microscopic length scale of the droplet. Okay, so in this type of situation, we are having one relationship in between the dynamic contact angle and static equilibrium contact angle, which is related with the help of capillary number. We know that capillary number is nothing but equal to mu v by sigma, where sigma is the surface tension in between the liquid and the gaseous phase, and mu is our viscosity of the liquid droplet, and v is the contact line velocity. Okay, so this capillary number is nothing but a dimension viscous effects and the surface tension into log of ln of L divided by Lm, where this L represents the macroscopic length scale, or the length scale at which we are actually measuring the apparent contact angle. So we consider this length scale of the order of 10 micrometer. So nothing but we are considering that from the surface, if this is our droplet, so from the surface we are at a distance of 10 micrometers from this surface. Actually we are measuring the value of contact angle, and that contact angle we are calling as theta d, and this Lm over here represents the microscopic length scale, which is of molecular length order. So this we consider of the order of 1 nanometer. So at 1 nanometer, what will be happening, our contact angle of the droplet with the surface will be nothing but equal to that of the static contact angle. Okay, so these are the general values of 10 micrometer and 1 nanometer, which are acceptable for majority of the liquid surfaces when we are having actually small capillary numbers while droplet is spreading. Okay, so capillary number is nothing but characterized by the apart from the viscosity and surface tension, it is also characterized by the contact line velocity of the droplet. Okay, so this type of relation is applicable when value of dynamic contact angle is less than 3 pi by 4, and one basic assumption is that microscopic angle is nothing but equal to static contact angle. Okay, so if we use this equation and if we try to find out the rate of droplet spreading and rate of contact angle variation as function of time for small droplets, particularly for the small angles, we are having this generalized relation that droplet radius will be having the relationship with time in the order of 1 by 10th power, and dynamic contact angle will be having the order of 3 by 10 with the time. Okay. Then comes the another theory, which is nothing but the molecular kinetic theory. So in case of molecular kinetic theory, what it considers that there is an interaction of liquid and solid surface at the molecular level, and that molecular activity is actually controlling the advancing motion of the contact line. Okay, so here we consider that microscopic contact angle is also actually velocity dependent. So in the previous theory, what we have done, we have considered that microscopic contact angle is actually independent of the contact line velocity and it's equal to the equilibrium contact angle. However, as per the molecular kinetic theory, microscopic contact angle is also a function of actually velocity. Okay, and it is nothing but identical to the angle which we are observing experimentally. And in this case, what we do, we consider the motion of the contact line by determining the statistical dynamics of the molecules within the immediate vicinity. Okay, so over here, what we consider that at the molecular level, the driving force for the contact line is nothing but sigma times cos theta s minus cos theta d. So difference of static contact angle and the actual value of the contact line to move, and it will act as the driving force. Okay, and we find from based on the molecular activity, this value of contact line velocity is given with the help of this relationship. Okay, so in this particular relationship, K naught is equilibrium frequency of the random molecular displacements which are occurring along the contact line. Okay, so over here, what will be happening if this is my surface? Over that surface, we will be having some liquid molecules. Okay, so these liquid molecules now may have vibrations in this transverse direction, and these may have vibrations particularly in the direction of the contact line motion. So K naught is nothing but represents the equilibrium frequency of the random molecular displacements, particularly which are occurring in the direction of the contact line. Okay, and lambda is supposed to be the distance between the adsorption sites on the solid surface. So now what we do on this solid surface, we can consider that we are having number of sites to which our molecules can come and can stick over here. So for example, if one molecule is over here, our contact line is over here. So this molecule will be going from here and will be sticking to this adsorption site. Then while further our contact line will be advancing, it will be sticking to this contact site. So lambda is a measure of the distance between the adsorption sites over the solid surface. Kb is all these values. From here we can find out nothing but our value of the contact line velocity, and that contact line velocity in turn is nothing but related to the value of the dynamic contact angle. Static contact angle we already know, sigma value we already know, and all these are nothing but the characteristics of the surface and all are constant. So from there we can relate our value of the dynamic contact angle using this equation. Okay, now particularly when the argument of this sine hyperbolic is very small, so this entire value, if it is small, in that case what will be happening, we can simply approximate sine hyperbolic of this argument as nothing but equal to this entire value only. So for that case, what will be happening, our value of contact line velocity will be nothing but equal to K naught lambda cube sigma times cos theta s minus cos theta d divided by Kb into T. So if apart from sigma into this cos theta s minus cos theta t driving force, if we consider all other constant quantities, these are nothing but called as a parameter zeta over here, and this zeta is equal to Kb T into K naught lambda cube, and this is called as the coefficient of contact line friction. Okay, and particularly this coefficient of contact line friction has units identical to that of the dynamic viscosity. Okay, so the units of this one are nothing but identical to that of the units of the dynamic viscosity. Okay, so for this type of molecular kinetic theory, what we are having, the radius of droplet scales to the time with the power of 1/7, and dynamic contact angle scales to time with the power of 3/7. Okay, so what we have done based on these idealized theories, we have come up to some spreading of the contact line radius, and we have got some value or scaling of the dynamic contact angle as function of time. Okay, but while we will be applying these theories, so for certain type of fluids, these will be actually applicable. However, in the recent days, when researchers have further tried to explore the phenomenon of dynamic spreading, it has been found that while we are having the plot in between the R and T, it is nothing but it cannot be represented by a straight line. Rather, we will be having different designs of spreading over here. Okay, so at present also we can consider that this is the phenomenon which is not fully understood, and still it is a topic of research, and people can actually pursue further research over here to further explore the phenomenon from fundamental physics. Okay, so the only idea of present research is that instead of having a single slope of the R versus T line, we may have different slopes of R versus T line, which will be representing the different physical situations during the spreading characteristics of the droplet. Okay. Now, let us try to see the measurement of dynamic contact angle. This is one very important concept. So, like static contact angle, dynamic contact angle also we can measure, but over here, if experimentally we are measuring, what we have to do, we require some surface over which actually our droplet will be spreading. So, this is nothing but a platform over here. Over this platform, we place our substrate, and this platform you can see is having nothing but our three-axis motion. So it can move in both x direction, y direction, and in z direction. So this is a three-axis platform, and over that we are having a needle, and that needle will be actually employed to create the droplet over the substrate. And over here we are having a camera, and this camera will be actually recording the photograph of the droplet. And if we are measuring the dynamic contact angle, then obviously this should be a video camera which will be recording video of that phenomenon. And over here, we are having some diffused light source which will be required for illumination while we are taking the photographs. Okay. So while we are taking the photographs, we may have two different situations. If we are allowing the droplet to rest over a surface, then we may have a condition of sessile droplet, and there may be another situation where a droplet is hanging from the capillary. So that type of situation is nothing but refers to a pendant droplet, and we may have third situation where we are having a needle also attached to the droplet, and our droplet is also touching the solid surface. Okay, so depending upon this, what we do basically, this camera is actually connected to some computer, and in our computer we are having some computer codes which are developed, and these computer codes in real time will be processing the experimental snapshots, and these will be actually fitting the curves and finding the value of contact angle. So you can see the plot of contact angle as function of time. Okay, so one important point we have to consider that while we are selecting the camera, so we have to consider the frequency or frame rate of this camera in such a fashion so that it should be able to fit within the dynamic length scale of the physical phenomenon. So it means dynamically say phenomenon is happening in 1 millisecond, then we should have sufficient number of frame rate of our camera which is able to give us multiple snapshots within that period of 1 millisecond. Okay, so this is how we do the measurement of dynamic contact angle, and particularly the device which is shown over here, it is called as goniometer. Okay, and this particular type of goniometer over here, you can see it's nothing but over here you can see one additional arrangement is there and one handle is also there. So this is nothing but a inclined based goniometer where your entire axis of the needle and axis of the platform over which solid surface is placed, axis of camera, etc., can be tilted with the help of using this additional arrangement. So entirely this base actually can be tilted. Okay, so this type of goniometer is required when you want to do the measurements. Then these are the typical evolution of dynamic contact angle is shown over here. So these plots are for first plot is when we are having a DVT droplet, and that DVT droplet is actually spreading over a PET surface. So here you can see that initially the droplet is having a high contact angle of around 45 degrees, and while time is actually proceeding. So droplet is trying to reach to the state of static equilibrium, and its contact angle is reaching to the value close to 10 degrees. Okay. Then another situation we are having over here, where we are having some pool of DBT liquid. So here we are having nothing but a pool of DBT liquid, and inside this DBT liquid, what we are doing, we are having a thin tape of PET surface, and this PET surface is actually being dipped inside this liquid. Okay, so while this experiment is performed, it is performed at different velocities of this PET surface, and for each velocity, whatever the value of contact angle is found, that value is actually represented over here. So you can see initially the contact angle value close to contact line velocity equal to 0. Also you are having the different values of contact angle. So particularly why these different values are coming, these particularly different values are coming because of the hysteresis of the contact angle. Okay, so these are coming because of hysteresis, and then after that, when we are having sufficiently large contact line velocities, during that time our contact angle is increasing upon increase of the velocity of the contact line. Okay. So what I will do, I will now stop at this point, and with this I also conclude our discussion on the measurement of fluid properties, and after that, now from our next lecture onwards, we will try to discuss the measurement of another fluidic parameter, so which is a parameter, not a property of the fluid, and particularly we will start with the measurement of pressure.